Hi everyone. So, in the follow-up, I'm just going to grab a drink of this coffee. In the follow-up to my last live on Sunday, I asked everybody to pop in the comments number one if they had... Oh, hello. He's running off from me. I asked everybody to pop a number one in the comments if they'd ever experienced a really horrible, disturbing, weird thought that popped into their mind and they thought, what the fuck is that? What the hell am I thinking? Why would I think that? And then brushed it off and went about their business for the day. So on Sunday, quite a lot of you actually put a number one in the comments. I did say I was going to be posting up the statistics of how normal it is. Let me just sort this hoodie out. I did say I was going to pop up the statistics of how frequent men and women without any mental health challenges, without any diagnoses, that kind of thing, how frequent it was for people in all walks of life, man, woman, child, whatever, all experience intrusive thoughts, the same kind of thoughts that people have when they're living with OCD. So the huge myth about OCD is that it's the thoughts that are the problem. They're really not. It's actually the response that we're having to said thought. So typically most people, I'm going to share those statistics with you in a minute, we're going to play a guessing game with them. In fact, there is somebody, I'm hoping he's about, I want to invite on because I think he will find this very interesting. Here we go. So, hey, if you're just tuning in. So, as I've just said, the huge misconception and myth about OCD is that it's the thoughts that are the problem. It's actually not. It's the response that we give to those thoughts. Everybody experiences thoughts that are creative, that are imaginative, that are dark, that are scary, that are weird, that are creepy, that are like, whoa, what was I just thinking? We have thoughts that are curious, or, you know, so for an example, I used some new antibacterial hand sanitizer yesterday and it smelled amazing. And I was like, I wonder what that tastes like. And in that minute, I was so tempted to just taste my hand. Obviously, I didn't, by the way. That generally wouldn't be good, but it's the same with, say, bath products, with bath bombs, with moisturizers. Body Shop, by the way, some of their skincare stuff smells so divine. You could imagine yourself sitting there with a spoon. It smells so good. So I managed to get the list. I was hoping to be able to download it onto my phone so that I could pop it in a post so that everybody can see it. Unfortunately, I've not been able to do that because it's, for some reason, it's a very weird PDF. So I have managed to print it out. So we are going to read the stats off here. So on here are 52 types of intrusive thoughts that everyone will experience at some point. These statistics have been done, hey babes, these statistics have been done on 200 people, male and female, of a non-clinical category. So non-clinical means they've never been diagnosed with a mental or emotional diagnosis or disorder, and they have not experienced stuff such as anxiety and things like that. Hi Donna. So, like I say, these are coming from people that are non-clinical. So the first one was... all of these are intrusive thoughts, by the way, all those what the fuck thoughts. The first one is driving into a window, having that random thought that you're going to drive into a window. 13%, and my phone's ringing, 13% of that 200 people, females, had the thought of randomly driving into a window. 16% male. The second one, which is actually a really common one, running the car off the road when you're driving along, and what if I just do that? Those of you that are drivers may relate to this one. So 64% of those 200 females have had the thought, what if I run this car off the road? They've pictured it, they've thought it in their mind. And 56 males have. The next one, some of these do get really kind of disturbing, by the way. The third one is hitting animals or people with their car, the random thought, what if I just hit that animal? What if I just hit that person? Or worrying that you have, or that you're about to. 46% of females have experienced that thought before, and 54% of the males that did this survey had thought about that. Number 4 is swerving into traffic. It's another real common one that pops up within the OCD community as well. Is swerving into traffic. So grabbing your steering wheel and just doing this. There you go, Laura. Laura does not, I can confirm, Laura does not have OCD. She shared that with us on Sunday. And as just said, she's had that thought too. So swerving into traffic, 55% of females and 52% of males have all had that intrusive what the fuck thought. Hi Emma. The next one, like I say, apologies if this gets really triggering for anybody. It's not meant to, it's not designed to. It's just giving you some perspective that actually people living with OCD, their thoughts are not the problem. Their thoughts do not make them some sick, twisted individual, because there is a lot of stereotype and stigma attached to the disorder still because of the type of thoughts that people experience when living with OCD. It is not the thoughts. The thoughts are experienced by most people, OCD or not. So the next one is slitting the wrist or the throat. I know that's really creepy, really not creepy, but it's quite a serious one. 20% of females, so by the way, this isn't people who would go and do that, this is the random passing thoughts. 20% of females and 22% of males have had that fleeting passing thought. Number 7, cutting off a finger or a toe, or if you're using a knife to prepare dinner, having the random thought, oh, what would happen if I just shoved that into my leg? You know, that kind of thing, that kind of passing thought. It's that curiosity. It's really macabre curiosity, but 19% of females and 16% of males have experienced that passing thought. Jumping off a high place, so a cliff, off a balcony, you know, pretty much anything that's in a high place, a stadium, flats, anything like that. 39% of females in this survey and 46% of males have had that passing thought. So these are thoughts that they don't want the thought, they do not desire that action, it's just this random thought that pops up in the mind. They're not actually actively thinking about it. Next one, fatally pushing a stranger over. 17% of females and 34% of males have experienced that one. Fatally pushing a friend, 9% of females and 22% of males. You know, there's a really funny one that I used to, when I'm talking within the OCD community in the warrior way, I always explain to them in this really funny kind of way. It's not funny, but it is funny. When you start talking to a friend, or if you're watching me on here now and you think, oh my god, well, she should just shut the fuck up, you know, she's doing my head in, or I said something triggering, or something you really didn't like, or, you know, you've got better things to do and you really don't want to stand around and actually listen, and you get the thought in your head that you could just slap them in the face and just say, shut the fuck up. Sorry for language, guys, if you've got kiddies on, where you're saying, shut the fuck up, because you can't be asked listening to them anymore. But you actually wouldn't do that, because you know morally and by your own values that that's actually not a very nice thing to do. But you can think it. Just because you think it doesn't mean that you're going to do that. It doesn't mean that that's an internal desire that you want to do. It's just that passing thought. The next one is jumping in front of a train or a car. These are passing thoughts, guys, so if you are just tuning in or you're watching on the replay, these are passing thoughts, just random ones that pop up into your mind, the ones that kind of stop you in your tracks from what you're doing. You think, what the hell was that? So 25% of females and 29% of males have experienced that one. Pushing family in front of a train or a car, 5% of females and 14% males. Hurting strangers is 18% female and 48% male. Insulting strangers, now this is going to be quite high. So who wants to guess how many females have had the random thought of insulting a stranger that's just felt like saying something really mean, really nasty, and they've just thought, I want to say something like that. How many females out of that 200 percentage wise do you think have had that thought? Because you'd be surprised at this one. We'll come back to it in a sec. Bumping into people, like literally physically bumping into people. 37% female and 43% male. Another one, we've got to laugh at this. Insulting an authority figure, so a police officer or a security guard, insulting someone that has authority. 34% female and 48% male have all had that thought. We'll go back to the hurting stranger, not hurting, yeah, insulting strangers, by the way, was even Stevens. So it was 50% female, almost even Stevens. 50% female and 59% male have all experienced that passing intrusive thought. Insulting family is almost again even Stevens. 59% female and 55% of males in this study all had experienced the intrusive thought of insulting a family member. Does it mean that they actually did it? Hurting family, so this one can often directly link to the harm. It's labelled harm OCD. So when you hear people relating to OCD as harm OCD, as relationship OCD or religion OCD, they're not describing a type of OCD. They're relating to the flavour that their thoughts are taking on. It's recognised by each person in the community, and it's a way for them to describe the train of thought, the manifestations it's taking on, and that internal fear. So there is actually only one type of OCD. However, there is OCPD, which is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So that's where perfectionism and things are linked in. Completely different way. It's not completely different disorder. It kind of works very, very similar, but they are two different diagnoses. Next one, choking a family member. So these aren't things that people actually want. These aren't things that people would act on. These are just random thoughts that pop up in the mind. So, choking a family member, 10% female and 22% male. Stabbing a family member, 6% female and 11% male. Accidentally, and I know some of you may get this, particularly those of you on the replay as well, accidentally leaving heat or the stove on, like the cooker, or hi Ruby, like the cooker, having to go back to check you've switched it off, or once you've got into bed and you think, oh god, did I leave the cooker on? So you have to get out of bed again and go and check, or you check your windows, you check that they've locked, have you locked the front door? It's that instant kind of anxiety feeling, shit, I need to get out of bed and go check. Those kind of random thoughts, when actually really you know that you probably did, you just don't feel certain in yourself. That's what causes the anxiety, because you doubt yourself. So that one was 79% of females in this study have all had that passing anxiety provoking thought, and 66% of males. Leaving the home unlocked and that there might be an intruder, somebody might have broken in, somebody might be burgling your house, and one of my children are running upstairs. I'm not sure which one it was. If you like me as well, and the kids are going back to school next week. She's trying to get in, I can't even open the door. I'm just on live now, sweetie.
No, I was trying to close the door for you.
Oh, thank you. Next week, 4 more sleeps. Yeah, so leaving the home unlocked, causing the anxiety and the fear that a burglar could get in, somebody could rob your house, there's an intruder. That intrusive thought that causes that much anxiety and uncertainty that you have to go all the way home and check. 77% of females and 69% of males have had that worry, that thought pop up. Sometimes I panic, I haven't even shut the front door. Yep. So they all work the same, they all pop up, they all cause that instant feeling of anxiety. Taps left on and the home's flooded, so you get the mental image thought that your home's flooded, so you need to go back home. 28% of female and 24% of male have had that intrusion. Swearing in public, not something I have difficulty with. I don't make a habit of it, but it is me. It's part of, so long as swearing isn't used to insult people and to be horrible towards them, then it really doesn't faze me. So swearing in public, 30% female and 34% male have all had the concern that they might swear in public. Why the concerns with that, I don't know. Breaking wind in public, so farting. We are a fart family, we find it funny. We even get Alexa playing fart noises, it's hilarious. If you haven't done that with Alexa yet, do it. If you're in need of a good giggle, go for it. She's very creative. So those who have the fear, the random thought pop up in the head that they might fart in public, 31% of females have that passing fear that they might break wind in public, and 49% of males. So actually the males have a higher percentage of that thought popping up and causing them a little bit of anxiety there. Let's just read Laura's comment. But it's fact of getting the kids in the car and just so busy and worried, I just forget because of the stress of getting out. Yeah, it's because there's so many things going on all at once. Haha, oh my god, I get worried about that, but doesn't everyone? No? Well, that's just me. I find it funny. It is a natural, normal response function of the body. It is actually there for a reason. Otherwise, I will give you a tip. Don't ever look up human combustion. So, on we go. The next one is throwing something in public. So you can all have a good giggle at some of these. Throwing something in public. 28% of females and 26% of males all have a concern when a random thought pops up that they could throw something. Vicky said the thought of farting in front of anyone cripples me. Oh my god, can you remember when you was younger and you were going on your first dates or invited the new guy that you were seeing round to watch a movie and then to leave the absolute gut ache? Believe me, I've got plenty of those t-shirts. I have to laugh, it's so funny. Next one, causing a public scene. So people that have the random thought that they're going to embarrass themselves and cause a scene. Where are we? 47% of females and 43% of males all have that passing intrusive fear or worry or concern. Scratching car paint. So using your keys alongside of a car, not that I've ever done it by the way, or thrown acid on somebody's paintwork, happens quite frequently unfortunately. So scratching car paint is 26% female, 43% male, all have the random thought pop up, what if I scratch that car? That could be if you park too close to another car. I always have that. I had a really difficult experience when I was around 17. We had parked way too close, or the parking spaces, which if anybody's familiar with Leeds and some of their multi-storey car parks, their parking spaces are like this. They are so small. In fact, it was only a few weeks ago where I had to climb out of the passenger seat over to the driver's seat and get out that side because it was just, I literally couldn't get my backside out of the car. That's not to say I've got a fat ass, by the way. But I had a really difficult experience at 17 where I tried to get out of a car I tried not to tap the other the parked car at the side with the door. Unfortunately, it didn't actually scratch the car. However, because it was a flashy, expensive sports car, unfortunately, he then went the legal route, decided he was going to get a full respray and it needed a new door, this, that and the other, when actually there was CCTV and he had to pretty much get a bottle of teacup. So there wasn't actually any damage to the car. So because of that, I always have it in my mind when I'm getting out of a car in a car park, I always have that thought, what if I scratch their car? What's going to happen? I'm liable for that kind of stuff. So yeah, he was very, very aggressive. Not physically, but he was aggressive. And actually, when you licked your finger and you wiped, it was like a little bit of dust that had come off the passenger side door that I'd got out of, and there was actually no scratch there. So in the end, we did offer him the price of a wax and polish. What a dicky sound. It was actually Ingle when I lived there up at the hospital. So the next one is breaking a window, whether deliberately, accidentally, throwing something, you get the thought that you could just break a window. Really random, but 26% of females and 43% of males have had that passing thought. Wrecking something, 32% and 33%, male and female. So one of those would be, as an example, I'll use a personal one here. Sometimes when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, really quite emotional, there's a bit of stress going on, or I haven't slept well, and I'm washing the pots, in pops a thought, I could just smash these plates. How therapeutic would that be to just get the plates that I'm washing up and just go bam. That's the kind of intrusion that I'm talking about with all of these. Just a random kind of thought that pops up out of nowhere. Obviously I've never actually smashed things. It probably would be nice to go somewhere where you could just like literally get a stack of plates in a room and you can just literally throw them on the floor. How therapeutic do you think that would be? I dare say it'd probably be as therapeutic as going in a field and screaming very, very loudly for as long as you want, as loud as you want. It does sound very, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word, not just therapeutic, but it kind of just gets it out. Shoplifting. So with the intrusive thought that you might shoplift and do it deliberately, 21%, 27% of females and 33% of males have all had the intrusive thought that they could shoplift. They have smashed it. Really? Right, that's a date, Vic. We're going to a smash room. I want to go to one of them. Can we take baseball bats? Asking for a friend, of course. Yeah, it's a date, Vic. We're going to sort that out, believe me. Grabbing money. So if you're getting cash out of the bank, or you're stood in a queue waiting for somebody to get their cash out, or you're at the bank paying money in, you see somebody, hi Alex, how are you? You see somebody with a big wad of cash and you get the intrusive thought that you just want to grab it and run off. And that you could actually picture yourself grabbing it. Let's break some stuff, absolutely. I'm down for that. Sounds like my kind of fun. So the passing thought that you could really do with that money, you'd love to go on a spending spree. So you could literally just picture yourself grabbing that wad of cash and running off, grabbing that money that was coming out of the cash machine for somebody else and running off, grabbing some money out of someone's hand. These are all kind of random intrusive thoughts that don't really come out of anywhere. They're kind of generated out of nothing. Love your background, gorgeous. Thank you very much. So we're on the second page. Holding up a bank. I didn't tell you the statistics of grabbing money. 21% of females have had the random thought that they would love, or they could grab a wad of cash out of somebody's hand, or snatch some money out of somebody's hand. That could include when you're at the till, by the way, and you're waiting behind someone and they're paying the cashier, and you picture yourself just yoink, I'll have that. So yeah, 21% of females and 39% of males in this study had that passing thought. Remember, if you are watching on the replay, all of these statistics are coming from male and female studies that do not have a diagnosis of any mental or emotional challenge at all. They don't struggle with anxiety, with depression, nothing like that. They do not have OCD. These are studies on thoughts that people typically have, and I will be sharing why there's still such a stigma. If thoughts like this are so common in everybody, why is there still such a stigma attached? So the next one is holding up a bank. 6% of females and 32% of males have all had the passing thought that they could hold up a bank. These ones get a bit fruity, we'll say. So if you've got little kiddies, just be mindful. So number 35, sex with an unacceptable person. So I'm going to say unacceptable means an undesirable. I don't know, even undesirables are desirable because obviously they're getting some, so not sure how that works, but an unacceptable person. 48% of females have had the passing thought of having sex with somebody that they find unacceptable, and 63% of males. I did not, when I first saw these, by the way, my therapy, when I had CBT therapy a few years ago, when we was going through the different types of intrusions that people get, whether they're linked to OCD or not, she actually used this as a reference point. Just to put it out there as well, I'd already done quite a lot of the groundwork prior to having CBT, so each session was really a learning curve and really educating myself on the intricate workings of OCD. So, sex with an authority figure, so that's a policeman, I think most people could probably say. In life, they find a guy in uniform or a woman in uniform very, very attractive and appealing. Police officers, firefighters, paramedics, rescue workers, RLNI, you name it, the armed forces. These are all people of authority, people who wear suits, you know, bankers. That's bankers, by the way, all of those that have got your heads in the gutters. So yeah, sex with an authority figure. 38% of females have had the random thought pop up in their head about having sex with that person that stood in front of them. And 63% of males, so almost identical to the one with an unacceptable person. This is another common one, by the way. The fly or the blouse undone, so the zipper. I always get this one, by the way, when people look at me. Sometimes I think, why are they staring at me? Is my fly undone? I get very, very, I used to get very, very self-conscious of that, and I used to actually literally look down, and then people really would look. So the concern that the fly is open or the blouse is open, that kind of intrusive thought that I've just explained there, that used to happen to me when people were looking. I used to be like, why are they staring at me? Is my fly undone? Have I got toilet paper stuck to my shoe? That kind of stuff, when actually most people are just looking for the sake of looking. 27% of females and 40% of males have the passing thought that maybe their fly or blouse is undone. Kissing an authority figure, so that's when you picture it in your head, you just want to plant a smacker on that person that's in front of you. 37% of females and 44% of males. Sometimes I have to check I put a scale. It's so crackers, isn't it? Just how much like anxiety it can provoke when somebody just looks. It's so strange. Exposing yourself. 9% of females. I didn't expect this one to be very high. That's not that I'm saying I'm being really sexist here. 9% of females have had that passing thought of randomly exposing themselves, and 21% of females. I might just add, by the way, these thoughts are not desirous thoughts. These are just random ones that the brain throws up. Acts acts against sexual preference. So these are thoughts of if you are heterosexual, having thoughts that are gay, you know, LGBT. So it goes against your sexual preference. 19% of females have had those thoughts, those random thoughts popping up, and 20% of males. Thoughts of an authority figure naked. So I'm not sure why that one is on there intrusive wise, because, you know, sometimes if you do see a dishy policeman or a dishy fireman, isn't it normal to kind of just picture what they might look like underneath? Same for guys, when they see an actress that they like, or somebody that, you know, a police officer or a paramedic or a nurse or a flight attendant or whatever. The same for guys. Is it not human nature to just think, I wonder what's underneath them clothes? What's they hiding? So actually, but they are still random thoughts when they're entering the mind. They pop up out of nowhere. Some people might think, that's a nice thought to have. Others might be shocked at why they're thinking that. So the statistics for that is 42% female and 54% male. Strangers naked. So imagining people that you've never met, never spoke to, you just pass them in the street, imagining them naked. Now, if you saw the TV show Pure, it was either last year or the year before, it was on Channel 4, and that was based on Rose Cartwright, so please look her up because she is amazing. She autobiographied her journey with OCD. She got quite a lot of stick from the media for it. That whole TV show, it's dark, humorous comedy, but it really does it opens your eyes up to just how weird OCD can get. So imagining strangers naked, 51% female and 80% male. So that is basically if you're passing a stranger and you randomly picturing, I wonder what they look like naked, it's going to make you stop and think, like, why did I just think that? I don't want to see him naked. Sex in public. Now, I'm not sure why that's intrusive, because there's a lot of people who like al fresco. So, but 49% of females and 78% of males have had that thought, kind of that curiosity. A disgusting sex act. 43% females and 52% males have had that thought popping up in their mind. Let's read Laura's comment. Oh my god, I seem to have a lot of random thoughts now you are bringing it up. It's quite scary. It's nothing to be scary of. 80% male. I know. It's not that they want the thoughts. It's not that they have a desire. It's just a random passing thought. It becomes an issue when we're responding to it out of fear and anxiety and giving it importance. So such as self, Laura, you're saying it's quite scary. That's because it makes us really stop and think about all the thoughts that we're having. There's 70,000 plus thoughts going off in your brain a day. Believe me, they get very interesting. It's just we don't notice that many. We'd be knackered if we kind of notice 70,000 thoughts going off in the brain every single day. Only the ones that give importance, that may elicit a reaction or an emotional response, are the ones that actually make it to the awareness. Thoughts that are based on patterns. The brain loves patterns. So in its memory bank, things that you've done before, experiences, internal fears, external fears, things that you like, things that you enjoy, the brain is constantly using that to kind of find a pattern within the environment that you're in any particular given moment. And if it does link up with something that the brain recognises, it will say, right, this has importance because we've seen it before, so it will bring it forward. So the next one, it's warm in here, it's this hoodie. By the way, these are going to be going on Shopify very, very soon. I think Shopify or Spreadshirt. So I will be adding that to the ocdwarrior.com website if anybody is interested in getting some merchandise. This one is actually Jamie's. So it says Men Cry Too. And down the sleeve it's Men's Mental Health Matters, because it really does. There's still stigma attached to that too. And I will be looking for, what does it say? Men Cry Too. So I will be looking for some amazing guys that want to come on board with the OCD Warrior brand and what I'm creating and the membership and stuff, to give some talks to the males that we support over in the Warrior Way. So next up we have catching a sexually transmitted disease. I think that is pretty standard when we're getting into new relationships, that kind of thing, or we're just going out on a weekend and having a bit of fun. No judgment, by the way, if that is you. 60% of women and 43% of males all have the passing thought, what if I catch an STD? Regardless of whether that's through engaging in sexual activity or if you worry about coming into contact with someone that may be the unacceptable person from earlier in the list. So yeah, 60% female and 43% male. Contamination from doors. So given the pandemic that we're in, I am very, very wary of touching things in public. So I do catch the bus and trains when I need to, when I'm required to. And I typically put my arm around and use this part of my arm rather than my hand, just because I'm very wary when we're getting on buses and trains and things. We're only actually asked to wear masks, we're not asked to wear gloves. So if that person is itching the mouth, if they've pulled the mask down to talk, if they scratch the nose, been to the toilet, whatever, I have to be aware, conscious. They are, you know, a lot of people are going to be grabbing that rail. So you do have to be mindful, but take the pandemic out of the equation. But the passing thought or passing concern of catching something from a door, from touching a door, 35% of female and 24% of males all have the passing thought, what if I catch X, Y and Z from this door? I always been terrified of contamination, especially handrails. Yeah, I can appreciate that now, coming through the pandemic, because I'm very mindful of doing it. I wouldn't say I'm anxious about it, I'm just mindful that, you know, we can be mindful of these things, and there are things that we can do to help with those responses. So we do find a system that works really well. Hi Shirley, that helps us to kind of remain calm. So for instance with me, it's kind of, rather than touching things, if I have to open a door I use this part of my arm, and if I have to grab onto something I use the crook of my elbow. Yeah, no, I know what you say. I get what you're saying. That's why I'm saying before the pandemic it's probably not something that I would have thought of, but during the pandemic I can really appreciate everybody that has that particular, that has fear around that, and the, you know, the anxiety attached to it before the pandemic. Just thought that people may have now washed hands. You know, all we can do, and this is something that comes up quite often in the facilitated support groups, with the charity that I facilitate, a volunteer to facilitate the support groups, is we can have expectations of ourselves to follow the guidelines, but really when it comes to everybody else, yes, the expectation is there, but we're not really in control of their actions. Yes, we can encourage family, friends, anybody that we're in direct contact with, to be considerate and wash their hands and follow the guidelines, but in reality we don't really have control over their actions or knowing whether they have or they haven't. All we can do is follow. You too, babe. All we can do is actually follow the guidelines ourselves and what we're in control of and what we can do to keep ourselves safe. So the next one is contamination from phones. Believe it or not, this is another one that is very, very common that I see popping up in the OCD support groups. 28% of females and 18% of those males out of the 200 had all had the passing intrusive thought that they may get contaminated or catch something from their mobile phone. Getting a fatal disease from strangers is another passing thought. So if we've been in contact with strangers, had a conversation with them, if they are one of those unacceptable people, we can have the passing thought, what if they've got a disease, what if I catch it, that kind of thing. Or we could sit while we're talking to them and think, I bet you've got a disease that I could catch, kind of thing. And it's a really random thought, it doesn't have to mean anything. A thought only gets meaning when we attach it to it. So thoughts are pretty much neutral, they're neither negative nor positive. We label them that way either due to the emotional response, which is usually the first. If it feels good, we label it as a positive. If it feels bad, then obviously we label it as a negative. Unfortunately for intrusive thoughts, they're normally in the awareness because they've elicited an anxiety response or they've triggered off an anxious response. So the brain automatically wants you to do something about it, to find safety, find a solution, get rid of it, that kind of thing. So 22% of females and 19% of males all have that passing fear. Giving a fatal disease to strangers is another one. 25% of females and 17% of males have all had that intrusive thought. Thoughts of giving everything away, all of your personal belongings, your personal possessions, things that you really love. You've had the passing thought that, do you know what, I'm just going to give it all away and start again. You know, can't be bothered with any of this stuff, let's just donate it all. 52% of females and 53% of males. Removing all the dust from the floor. 35% of females and 24% of males have had those intrusive thoughts where they felt like they need to get rid of all the dust that's on the floor. It's a passing thought where it becomes OCD when they engage in doing those behaviours, when they give that passing thought some meaning and attach a story and a belief to it. Sorry about the buzz in there, by the way. 35% of females, 24% of males. And the final one is the passing thought that you need to remove dust from unseen places. So it's that dust that you know is there but cannot be seen. 41% of females and 29% of males all have the passing thought that they may need to remove dust or get worried about dust that can't be seen really by anybody. You know, we're talking the kind of dust that gets on top of the cupboards where you can't really see it until you climb on the worktop. That kind of stuff, it's being concerned with that. But on to the serious bit now. There's some giggles in there as well. So it's really interesting that those statistics were so high in so many of those, and how common all of these are, because I can guarantee some of these relate to what is known as harm OCD, sexual OCD, so that runs off themes and manifestations of violent acts, causing harm to people, causing harm to yourselves, your loved ones, the road, you know, thinking that you could be responsible for harming a stranger, animals, doing things of a sexual nature. It's having all of those fears. They are all features within OCD, because it's not the thoughts that create the disorder, it's the way that they're responded to that becomes the difficulty. Now, when somebody without OCD has an intrusive thought, they are able to just brush it off. What the hell was that? That was weird. And they carry on about their day. Unfortunately, for somebody with OCD that has maybe a deep-rooted internal fear of something, or it's related to a childhood trauma or something that may have happened, that intrusive thought then can match up with something within the brain that's already been experienced on some level somewhere, or it has a connection, so that instantly makes a pattern. The brain will push it forward, and expect you to do something about it, because the anxiety is there. The anxiety is then telling the brain, you know, this isn't unsafe, we need to do something about it, we need to get rid of it, and that's where compulsions will come in. So actually compulsions are part of the problem. So if you have many of these thoughts but can brush it off, it's not OCD. No, because thoughts are thoughts until you label them otherwise. So the whole principle of being present and just experiencing a thought, letting it be there and letting it go, knowing that it doesn't mean anything about you or what you're capable, but actually it's coming from a place of fear that's linked into maybe an experience. We know then that it doesn't actually have any importance about us. It doesn't mean anything about us. Typically OCD does latch on to things that are against our inner core values, so our morals, the values that we live by. So for instance, harm OCD, so experiencing similar thoughts to what I have in the past towards the children, towards people that I love. It's that feeling of responsibility, particularly when it comes to the children. If you've read my book, you'll get it. Obviously as a mother, you feel, you know, you are responsible for keeping your children safe and looking after them and making sure they're loved and well fed and all the rest of it. So that's an internal value as a mother that we have, that we want to look after our babies until, I don't know, they're in the 40s, 50s. You never really stop being a parent even when your children do grow up, but it's a huge responsibility. And because we love them so much and we want to protect them, when an OCD or when a thought crops up that is working against that or kind of twists it, of course we're going to react, because it's so against who we are as a person and the values and the things that we find important in life. So that's why, it's because when it becomes OCD, it's really latching onto those deep internal fears that we have. We become very fearful that it means something about who we are, when actually it is just a thought. So in response to your question, Laura, if you have many of these thoughts and that can brush them off, it's not OCD. It becomes OCD when you're engaging in compulsive behaviours to get rid of the thoughts, if you're attaching meaning to them, because thoughts are just thoughts. Everybody has them, as I've just proven. For it to become OCD, you have to have the obsession. So that's basically the repeating same thought constantly. So having one of these would not create an obsession. An obsession is having one of these thoughts repeatedly, framed God knows how many different ways. They get creative, they get imaginative, they flip the narrative of how they come at you, but they all still kind of have the same flavour. When they keep cropping up all the time, because we're resisting allowing those thoughts to be there, and we're resisting working through them, and we're trying to get rid of them. There's a famous saying by Carl Jung, what we resist persists and grows greater. So that's like me saying to you now, think of a purple bunny. I don't want you to think of anything else but a purple bunny with its big floppy ears and it's all fluffy and it's all cuddly and you want to squish it. I want you to close your eyes and think of that purple bunny and not a white polar bear. What's going to happen? And I know you'll put a white polar bear in there because there's actually a scientific term for that. But it is the very things that we try and get rid of. The brain automatically starts to think that it has some importance, because why else would we be trying to get rid of it? Why else would we be feeling fearful if it wasn't important and something that we needed to do something about? So yeah, so there's actually the stigma and stereotype that's attached to OCD. The stereotype is attached due to the media and programs like obsessive compulsive cleaners, when there's t-shirts and Christmas decorations that are marketed as obsessive Christmas disorder or obsessive cat disorder or obsessive fishing disorder. It's because constantly it's being gimmicked out of and glamorized, and people start thinking that it's really a funny quirk to have, when actually it's not. The stereotypes about it being about cleaning and germs and catching HIV and that kind of stuff actually comes from the outward behaviours that people typically see. So compulsions are physical and mental. So there are the compulsions that are done in the mind that nobody can really see, and there's the compulsions such as cleaning, ordering, writing things down. There's so many different ones. I am going to do another live in a couple of days time, and basically reel off the many different types of compulsions that somebody can experience. So typically people on the outside, when they're seeing the physical compulsions, they're assuming that that's the OCD. It's not, it's the response to it. And because people don't actually get it and they don't realise just how debilitating it gets, just how disturbing the thoughts can get, the reaction to that, because many people out there in society believe it is to do with cleaning, when somebody finally decides to open up about their thoughts, they end up getting labelled a psychopath, they end up getting labelled weird, like nobody wants to hang around with them anymore, because why would you if they're having thoughts like that? It's not normal. That's then what creates the stereotype and the stigma around the disorder, because we start to feel like, and I was the same, before I got my diagnosis, I actually started getting very afraid that I was schizophrenic, that I had psychosis, because I also believed that OCD was to do with cleaning, that I thought it was to do with catching HIV, but I didn't, I wish, I used to walk around saying I wish it was as useful as the cleaning OCD, and I realise now how ignorant that must have sounded to the people that had OCD around contamination. That actually is not fun. It's not something we can say I wish I had. It's debilitating. Even those things that, you could have two people with the diagnosis of OCD stood side by side, and one would wish for the other person's type of thoughts, because you never want the ones that are bothering you, and you'd rather have somebody else's, but actually to them it's just as debilitating as yours is. The experience is still the same. It's still a horrible, horrible disorder that many people don't believe that they can actually reach remission from, like it's a permanent thing, and like they're destined to suffer, and it's really not the case, which is one of the reasons why I created the OCD Warrior and the Warrior's Way membership, was to help boost up somebody's confidence and emotional resilience in knowing that actually just because they've tried different things and different methods, different strategies that haven't worked, there are still others out there that could work for them, and it's about having the confidence and the curiosity to go exploring those. So yeah, there is a huge stigma attached. There is a big stereotype. I used to get very cheesed off with people who would say I'm a little bit OCD too, or oh, I've heard about that, you can come clean my house. I used to get so angry with it, but now anger doesn't really have a place unless it's being directly used intentionally towards someone to make fun of them. But actually people don't know what they don't know. So if they still have the belief like I did, that that's what OCD is about, they don't really know any better, and it's always a better way to approach it from a place of offering to educate them. And I don't mean in, in a really patronising way. It just opens up the opportunity to discuss it with somebody so that they can go away and really understand something, so that maybe, in the UK alone there's nearly 800,000 people diagnosed with OCD. That doesn't include the people who haven't been diagnosed yet or don't realise that they have OCD. So just imagine how many people are out there. And imagine if we had the opportunity to really educate people on what it was and bring some awareness about, debunk all the myths and misconceptions and all those quirks that are made about it. Imagine how many people would feel much more supported when they're not being called a weirdo, when they're not being called a psychopath. Imagine how many more people could work their way to remission because they're not feeling like they have to hide away from the world. They don't have to feel ashamed for their thoughts. And that was the reason why I wanted to do these, because I wanted them to see that actually, and those of you that are watching on the replay that do have the diagnosis of OCD or suspect it, or even in treatment, or struggling, the importance of doing this live and showing you actually that these thoughts are normal. They don't mean anything about you because everybody actually has them, regardless, and that actually if normal people, I say normal, non-OCD people can have them and they don't mean anything and can work towards brushing them off, then why can't we? And I'm proof that it can. I can have intrusive thoughts pretty much every day of the week, 365 days a year, and sometimes I just sit and laugh at them. Some of them get very, very disturbing, especially the ones against kids, but I can still sit and laugh because I know the bullshit. It takes work to get there, and as I say in the community, repeatedly, in the nicest way possible, we are the only ones that are in control in reaching remission from it. Nobody can do that for us. There's no medication, there's no magic wand that can get rid of thoughts, because then you're technically brain dead. Because then, you know, if you're not having any thoughts, then the brain isn't functioning, because it's designed to think. What we do have power and control over is how we're responding and the experience that we're having. So yeah, it's something I'm very, very passionate about, in helping people realise that actually their thoughts aren't the problem, that the thoughts are normal and they're not abnormal, and that it's not a case of the fact they're broken. I hate that phrase that people refer to themselves as broken, when really they're not broken. And you have to think of, and Chris shared it last year, I think it was, Laura, remember the art of kintsugi, that pottery is put together in Japan in pieces like a jigsaw puzzle, and it's put together with liquid gold, as it's, you know, re-put together and sold on. I mean, the stuff's expensive because I've had a look at purchasing some, but nobody is actually broken. Like I say, I have a huge issue with that statement when somebody says, you know, that they're broken, they're wired up wrong. Think of it this way: the brain is like a big ball of plasticine. It can remold, you can learn new habits, and the whole you can't teach an old dog new tricks bullshit, because the brain is forever learning. Its own neural pathways can be rewired and changed. New habits can be formed and reinforced. So actually, we can learn new things. So I am going to get off and cook tea. Well, I say cook tea, I prepped it earlier. Get it whacked in the oven. I hope this live has been really interesting, that you've learned something new. If you are living with the diagnosis of OCD and you want to work with me, please head to theocdwarrior.com or .co.uk, find a little bit more information there. There is the opportunity for you to book a free 15-minute consultation with me to find out how I would be able to help you, and if we're a good fit. Whew. We've got the membership coming, Shopify clothing, the OCD Warrior clothing is going to be up on there very soon. We've got lots going on, I'm so excited. If there is anything in particular you want to learn about the disorder, if somebody you know that has the diagnosis or you suspect, contact me directly, we'll set up a chat. Or if there's anything anybody wants me to go live about, I am actually live tomorrow in character, and I'm going to let you all guess because I'm not going to announce it, so you'll have to tune in at 8 PM to find out which cosplay character I'm doing. It's going to be very interesting. I know it's not Jessica Rabbit again. So yeah, if you have any questions or anything that you would like me to cover in the live, it can be absolutely anything, please pop them into my inbox and I will answer them all. You do not have to give your name or anything, you can remain anonymous. Pop them all in my inbox and they'll all get answered on live tomorrow. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday, guys. Speak soon.